guys, today we're going to be talking about why you should never call out a narcissist. This is very difficult, and I want to share with you my story in walking through this, and I also want to kind of give you a couple of tips around why you should never call them out. Before I dive in, guys, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing if you are a child of a narcissist and you are needing help to overcome and recover. And I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse myself. My parents were narcissists, and I was able to heal myself and recover and restore my life, and I want to share that with you. You might be in your journey right now where you're learning about narcissistic abuse and narcissism, and you've realized that somebody in your life is an actual narcissist. And you want to, give them this information, enlighten them, and say, hey, I found the answer. This is what the problem is. Some of you may want to actually call them out and be like, look, I know what you've been doing to me. First of all, they are not aware at that level, and they cannot be aware at that level. Just because you tell somebody that this is what you're dealing with and this is the problem. In fact, as a coach, I meet with people on a consistent basis where they may share a problem with me. I may know the solution and what they should do, but I can't give them that solution. They have to come to that solution themselves, right? I have to walk them through asking them the right questions so they can process and learn and take all the information that they know and come to their own conclusion. Nobody just wants an answer handed to them without having to go through and process and figure out that that's the right decision for them. With a narcissist, however, they do not have the level of understanding and self-awareness to see that they have any narcissistic traits, and they don't have the awareness then to change. But what's going to happen if you go to a narcissist? Now, I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. When I first learned about narcissism, actually my mother was the one that told me about it. She said, I really know that your sister's a narcissist. I've been doing research on it, and she has absolutely everything. Like, it matches her 100%. Now, my sister had done smear campaigns. She had done a smear campaign against my mother. She had done numerous ones my entire life against me. And the truth of the matter is I didn't know what narcissism was. And so I looked it up. I was like, well, I'm going to look. So I started to look at narcissism, and then I discovered that if there's one narcissist, it's everybody. That then was like, I freaked out, because then, you go straight to, oh my gosh, am I a narcissist? Well, at that point, I didn't know if I was or not, right? I was just going to take accountability and get healing. And I remember going to my mom and saying, okay, so you said that my sister's a narcissist. I went out there, I'm like, you're right. She's got all the traits. I had then found a couple of books from some different psychologists, and I really understood now what the problem was. I mean, because my mother had verbally basically told me that she was a narcissist, but not in the terms of narcissism. Through our discussions and things, and me asking her questions throughout, just having a relationship, because my mother and I, we spent all day, every day together.
Christine lives 5 houses away from me. We meet for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
When she was working, we worked at the same corporations, and she followed me, corporation to corporation. We were, like nonstop together. Okay. So she shared a lot of different things with me. So I had enough information to be able to go, oh yes, she definitely deals with this. She's told me that she deals with this. So I decided to, right in the middle where she was giving me the silent treatment and not wanting to talk to me, I decided for the first time in my life to interrupt that silent treatment, which is actually abuse. Tell her the resources that I found. Like, oh my gosh, you're right. She is a narcissist, and this is the family problem. This is why there's so many issues, And I thought at some level that she would read it and go, oh my gosh, you're right. We're all going to take responsibility. At least that's what we all hope, right? But instead, she did what they say that she's going to do. Now, I knew that if she was a narcissist for sure, that she was going to attack me and it was not going to be a good thing. But at that point, I was making the decision to go no contact with her. And for me personally, I needed her to respond in a way that either disproved or proved my assumptions. And when I told her that, gave her this book, and I was very compassionate about it, I said, look, this is the family issue. I said, I'm taking responsibility for myself. I'm getting healing. I'm putting myself through recovery. And here's the resources for you if you want to look into it more. She ended up projecting, and I actually, she did this through text, and I actually saved the text messages because when I went no contact, it was easier for me to revert back to the things that she had said that were so extremely toxic, to remind myself of why I did not need to be in her presence. And just, textbook, she told me that, she thought I was a narcissist. She blamed me for absolutely everything, every wrong decision she has made in her relationships. And it was to the point where so extreme that I knew she was talking about herself. So she was projecting onto me all of the things that she felt like she destroyed all of her relationships. And, she's isolated because nobody wants to be around her. Why? Because she's a narcissist. So is her husband at this point. And so there was all these different things that she projected on me. And it's painful, and it's was hurtful, and it was toxic, and there just horrible things that she had spewed out to me that I'm not even going to repeat. Now, I needed to go through that. It was very painful for me, but at the same time, I needed that in order to go no contact with my family. I had to know that they really could not love me, and that they really were narcissists. If you have a family member that you still want to try to have a civil connection with, meaning that you don't go deep with them, you don't share emotions, you have a civil connection with them, because they're not going to have the same emotions, and they're not going to be an emotional person. So you have to keep things civil. You have to make sure that you are not somebody that they're going to get supply from, meaning they're super needy, and they're going to either want to put you down, or they're going to want to use you in some way. You have to have those boundaries. Now, you can't do that. You can't reach that unless you go through healing first. So you do have to go no contact with a narcissist, at least temporarily, in order to get healing. The fact is that they're never going to admit that they're at fault. They're never going to admit that they're a narcissist, because they just don't have that ability. And they see everyone as, that everyone else is the problem. And this really comes to the fact that we have to realize that they're not going to change. And that's where, we start to grieve the loss of somebody that we thought that we had in our life. We believe that they were one thing and they're really another. And really accepting their limitations. And this is heartbreaking. And, the grieving process, can take 6 months to a year to go through. And I highly recommend that if you are going through that grieving process, that you are in a recovery program, so you don't just have grieving in your life, but you actually are doing work on yourself to heal. And the other thing that I want to mention is that if you meet a narcissist in a workplace, you can't call them out either. Because they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to make you the bad person. You're probably going to lose your job. Now, I wouldn't recommend staying in a toxic environment. I have definitely been in them. It's difficult if you are in one and you don't know how to leave. And if you maybe don't have a lot of different options. But it's just not a healthy place to be long term. And so all of this to say is that if you try to send someone a video, send someone information. Oh, if my mother only saw, like a lot of people will comment on my videos, if my mom just sees your video, she'll know that what she's doing is toxic. No, she's not going to know. She's going to project it on you. She's going to project it on me. She's going to say everyone else is the problem. She's not going to take responsibility. In the scheme of things, what's more important is to focus on your recovery. Focus on you healing and you transforming yourself. And if you're a child of a narcissist, you've learned narcissistic traits yourself. And in a previous video, I talked about that this last week. And what's really important is that we take responsibility for whatever those things are, and we unlearn the crap that we were taught so that we don't repeat the abuse cycle. Because even if you are somebody that has a ton of empathy and you were raised by a narcissist and you have all these bad habits, you will pass down narcissism to your children if you have children, and you will abuse the people around you. And so it's really important to take responsibility and go through recovery and focus on yourself. Focus on your healing so that you can reverse toxic love. The thing is like some narcissists will actually even admit that they are a narcissist. I've actually had narcissists say, yeah, I'm absolutely a narcissist. They might even have enough awareness to admit that, but they don't want to change. And so realizing that, even because they're getting what they want by living their life the way that they are, and they feel like they're happy with it. And so coming to this realization is tough, guys. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can do to help them. There's nothing you can say that's going to even, allow them to know that you're onto them, because they don't even know what's wrong with them. They don't have that awareness. So if you go to them and say, aha, you're a narcissist and you're gaslighting and you're doing this and you're doing that, well, they're going to think you're nuts, because they don't have that awareness to go, oh, I did something wrong. Best thing to do, don't allow yourself to engage, and so slowly withdraw from that relationship. That's the healthiest thing that you can possibly do. And if you're somebody that is a child of a narcissist and you're realizing your parents are narcissists, you really can't do anything to help them. You really can't say anything. And I know what it's like to be in that situation where you're going to choose to go no contact for life, and you have to know because you love them deeply. And coming to the realization, though, that they truly are narcissists, it does help, because you know then that they cannot love you. And if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, understanding that they cannot love you and they cannot change is the beginning of healing. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope this information helps you. And I hope that you sign up for my webinar. I will put a link down below on how I healed from myself from narcissistic abuse, if you would like to know the recovery process. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next week.